What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90. Something a little bit different to what we usually do. I know this is pre-recorded before you ask as well. The reason why we're doing this is because obviously you saw the news on Wednesday and the horrific Fofana injury, and we wish him all the best. But the reason why I wanted to do this one is because we promised you, and we wanted to come into it, we'll cover the rest of the match. Obviously, Fofana, it's more important than football, kind of that kind of injury. If you guys have seen our channel, you'll see on Wednesday in the live stream that we covered this. So all thoughts and prayers go out to him. Hopefully, has a speedy recovery. From what we know so far, we don't know the estimated arrival that he's going to come back by, but he dislocated his ankle and broke his fibula bone. So we're going to have to wait till the swelling goes down and tell you. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the players that obviously during the match that had a really good game. Players that I thought that we could really touch on because there was some fantastic play, and some of you that were wondering as well, and a lot of the comments, especially around the Wickham game, that were just wondering: is this the fall? Is it we're losing games against Wickham? Is this the right thing? Now we're seeing what's happening. We come up against the champions of the not champions of Europe, champions of the Europa League, the Europa League winners. And yes, they are missing a few players. I think a few of the players are over in the Olympics at the moment, but we still beat them quite promisingly. Obviously, once the combination of obviously Fofana's injury had a massive effect on the team, and changing all them substitutions after to bring on basically a whole new squad had a massive impact on the team. So the second half, I'm not going to after Fofana injury. There's a couple of points I want to touch on, but nothing too much. I just want to go basically the first half and right up to the Fofana injury because that's the main thing. Right, let's get into it. So from some of the players that we're looking at, I mean, the starting lineup was kind of a 4-2-3-1 with Perez playing on the right. Something that I think a lot of fans were turning their heads up at and go, oh, he's not good enough. He's not good enough. But he came on the pitch and he did a job. You know what I mean? And that's the thing with Perez. He's not one of my favorite players, but he does a job and he can do a job for Leicester City. And I think he was quite noble in that aspect as well. So I think he was not bad. I think one player I want to touch on is I'm trying to get the formations up here. Both fullbacks were in that first half were absolutely insane. I'm just trying to get some of the pictures up here so I can show you some of the formations. But what's brilliant to say is that Ricardo is pretty much back to his best, which is such a blessing. You know, he's still got some improving to do. I think his levels can increase, but he's nearly there. And we forgot how impressive Ricardo is until you see him on the ball. And the balls he was doing defensively, solid. Defending everything, running back. But what was really impressive is how he got forward. Always wanted to beat somebody. Playing lovely 1-2s with Perez, I thought was fantastic. And just really enjoying and leading. You know, like in the first game where he had the captain's armband, he kind of deserved it here. On that right-hand side, really marshalling the back line, sorting them out. And just, again, a note in something about point in my notes, he's just a joy to watch. Ricardo is just such a joy to watch, especially when he's on form like he is now. Hopefully going forward, obviously, Timothy Castagne will come back and provide a little bit of squad depth. However, I think that he'll be absolutely vital for our success as well. And one of the things I loved is he was stretching the pitch. So not just coming back and defending, which he's got the pace to do, but also running forward, getting past a player, taking a player on in terms of give it to somebody else, knock it past him, and then trying to get balls into the box. Some of them weren't picking up. Again, it is preseason, but we are getting the old Ricardo back. It was a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10. And I think the more he plays, the more these levels are just going to increase. Bearing in mind, he's played little bits now. He's had the summer off to go train, and it looks like it's done him the world of good. Another player I want to mention as well, on the other side, Ryan Bertrand. I mean, we were all saying it's kind of, as a neutral fan, it was an underwhelming signing to sign a left back that's played Premier League football, come from Southampton, that aren't doing too well, that are probably one of the favourites to go down, to be perfectly honest. Now they're missing Danny Ings. Wow. So impressed with a lot of what Ricardo did. And I was just hoping for him. And what was from I think the 5th minute or something I've got down as well. He was just fantastic. So what he was doing is getting up and down the line, but also managing. picking his times to run. I think we mentioned this in a couple of other, I think the QPR especially, picking his time to go, right, I want to run and go down the line, but also managing players like Fofana, players like Soyuncu that go, okay, stay here, go here. And I think he said pre-match as well that he can play centre-back. So it is another option. It's not ideal. It really, really isn't ideal, but he's got the experience. He knows what he's doing at the back and he's showing it because he was very good. I would argue that he had a better game than Ricardo. But comparing them two is like comparing an 8.5 and a 9 out of 10. They're both very, very, very good, and the performances were sensational. I mean, he's going to be fantastic in Europe, fantastic in the Premier League. It's probably when you're going to see him the most, especially in the beginning stages. When we start to play Europa League football, we might see something else, but we'll get onto that when we get there. Another thing, set pieces. I think he was taking corners as well, but his left foot, Christian Fuchs had an amazing left foot and just loved Christian Fuchs, but this is something else. For the first goal that he set up for Soyuncu, wow. I mean, what he was doing, getting the ball from that position, getting it in, and whipping it right round. And we've not seen a left foot like that since Riyad Mahrez. Am I saying he's a skillful Riyad Mahrez? No. We've not had somebody in the team that can really hit that ball on their left foot and curve it. The fact that he's taking James Maddison offset pieces is kind of a blessing. And again, throughout the game, normally, James Maddison first, Yuri Tielemans second. But now, if there is a need for somebody with a left foot, and we see Rashid Ghazal in the previous games, but now it just looks like Bertrand, and the quality that he has, has been fantastic to kind of push into that team. One thing to kind of criticize him on, which maybe could bring him down a little bit lower, Ricardo, he's a little bit clumsy in the challenges. Something that Dan from the Saints View, again, he did the preview when we looked at the player and looked a bit more in detail, came into. And the statistics I find were different to actually his performance. I expected him to his level to be a lot lower, but it just seems to be a breath of fresh air. He's obviously coming in as a new signing with a new team, and he's got a lot to impress. He knows that the people like James Justin, he's probably seen him last season, and obviously he's out with that horrible injury. Now, hopefully he gets better soon. I think they were looking at end of August, beginning of November as well for him. So hopefully that comes back. But Luke Thomas is going to be another amazing signing, but he's another one. Over the free kicks, he was fantastic. His pace was insane. At times, he was quick as Barnes, which is insane. We don't have anybody who's quick as Barnes. We'll come on to Barnes in a second, but there was nobody in our squad that's really got that, apart from Demi Vardy and Patson Daka, but in the defensive line, that's really got that pace that can kind of go playing 1-2s with each other, kind of picking his moments to kind of play as the back three and then go, okay, if Ricardo goes forward, I think he was mentioning this in an interview, if Ricardo goes forward, then I will stay back and I will hold this position, because overall, yeah, fantastic game. And just his vision, but his decision making as well. He was vital. He got another assist for the second goal as well. James Maddison holding the ball up well. Bertrand holding it. Brilliant ball through. Something's gone under the radar. Again, Barnes finished it off, and we'll come on to Barnes in a second. But Ryan Bertrand, man, really, really, really impressive, to be honest. And he's a player that I really want to focus on, because he was over the free kick, but then actually taking the free kicks, taking the corners from if we need somebody for a set piece, he looks like he knows what he's doing. And especially them two, we've got two not very experienced centre-backs that are playing with each other. If Johnny Evans was fit, we know he's got that plantar fascia problem at the moment, so he would normally come in and marshal that back line. Ryan Bertrand was marshalling that back line massively and really taking on that leadership roles and that leadership qualities, which I think we need. We've got Kasper Schmeichel obviously back. Didn't really have a lot to do, to be perfectly honest, but we know he needs to just turn. We can turn it on when he has to. But the back four was insane. Wesley Fofana, I know he had that horrible injury, but had such a good game. Chose his moments fantastically, when to defend, when to pick the tackles, and also when to drive into midfield. Bearing in mind, we've got Ndidi, we've got Tielemans, we've got Maddison as well. But he chose his moments to go, okay, let me get the ball and drive. And the Villareal players didn't know what to do with him. It was a shame not to see Iborra back. I know he's injured, but would have loved to have seen him. However, again, Fofana did fantastically. Soyuncu, again, in the back line, took his goal superbly well. I think a lot of the things that he did with the balls that clearing them off the line, defending set pieces, was strong and resolute, taking players on one by one. didn't do too much trickery, and I think that's something that he's potentially taken out of his game more and more. When it's necessary, he'll do it, because I think he's realised now that okay, we're playing a bit tricky, and especially when you've got somebody like Johnny Evans next to you, be like, just cut it out, don't need to do it. So I think they were fantastic. I think Maddison had a decent game. He's starting to look like Jack Grealish now. I know Jack Grealish is on the way to Man City. We'll probably get probably an interview up on the channel if you've not seen it with Jan City at the moment, talking about the Community Shield. So yeah, make sure you tune into that one. But did his position well. Like he slowed down the ball, in my opinion, a bit more than he needed to. But again, good play from him. He was the third person to set up the goal, taking the ball, like dribbling past a couple of players, passing it to Ryan Bertrand, then on to Harvey Barnes, which I thought was fantastic as well. I thought it was a good game for him. Some of the set pieces could have been a little bit better, to be honest. I think we're still building into preseason, so I wouldn't worry too much about the whole thing. However, he was not too bad. Tielemans, it's just good to see him back. Every time he's on the ball, it just looks like we're building the team around him. I know we've got the likes of Jamie Vardy, Pat Sadaka, Samare, who will come into a second as well. But when Tielemans is on the ball and in that central midfield position, it's really good to watch. And it's really good to see him just tick and just go, right, we're going to sort this out. And I love it. I love watching him play. Him and then Diddy, something that they mentioned in BBC radio commentary that I didn't pick up on until they mentioned it, till looking back at the replays. Ndidi was just a boss. We always know he's a boss, but he's kind of bulked up his shoulders, his chest, maybe a little bit of his legs. He was pushing people off the ball, and at the time, Villareal didn't know what hit them when they were trying to break forward. And Ndidi was like, "No, I've got this," and was shoulder barging people, kind of body checking people, which we've not seen from Wilfred Ndidi. Normally, he's kind of all, I know because I'm a skinny old boy as well, but he's all kind of legs, and that's kind of I am. But at the time, I can't remember the exact minute where somebody went into him, and he didn't. The quote I put down is just "get off the ball, get off the ball" whatsoever for Ndidi, and I just thought he was fantastic. And the thing is, I don't want to. Oh, he was fantastic, but that's the levels that he sets. And I know last season they said he did drop his level a little bit. Hopefully he'll bring them back up. And again, if anybody's watching, go, "Oh, he dropped his levels in Matt." He produced an 8 out of 10 season, 8.5 out of 10. But Ndidi sets his standards so high year after year after year, consistently, to where if he has a little bit of a drop off, we notice, and it's just one of those things. One thing as well, just coming back to the midfield duo of Tielemans and Ndidi, work fantastically. They know each other telepathically at times, how they work. And every time Tielemans is on the ball and he's over the halfway line, the crowd is just shouting "shoot," which I think is so good. As kind of as both just something to kind of tongue in cheek. That's a little bit that's a bit funny, but also we've seen you do it. Go and do it again. And I like the balance of that. I think that's really, really cool about Tielemans. Perez, I think we mentioned before, his desire to play in that position. We've seen him before where he's got the wing and goes, "I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to take a player on one by one." With Perez with Ricardo on that side that will provide him that creativity a little bit more. It allows him to go and do all the hard work. Maybe not take a player on and like Riyad Mahrez, step over, cross the ball in, but he allows him to play 1-2s. He understands his position. Something that people expect him to be a James Maddison, but the thing is, James Maddison, I think since he joined, he's the second most creative player in the whole of the Premier League. I think only Kevin De Bruyne has created more opportunities, even more than like Bruno Fernandes. He's been that impressive over the years since he's been here. However, Perez, he's one that the fans get after, and I kind of understand why. I mean, looking at his statistics last year in terms of 3 goals, 1 assist is not good enough, especially if we want to be pushing into the top 4. However, hopefully this season this 4-2-3-1 is a position we want to use a lot. However, we don't really have that many options at the time of recording in wingers. You look at the likes of, on one side you've got Ricardo. One side you've got Albright, and the other side you've got Harvey Barnes. Apart from that, we've got nothing really, and that's really not disappointing. But the club will sort something. We'll see who comes on or who develops it within this time, but it's going to take a while. Until then, Perez is going to, if he wants to get in the team, Brendan Rodgers has said, Maddison is probably the number 1. If you want to get in the team, you have to play on that right-hand side. And he's not an out-and-out winger. But with Ricardo there, it makes up for a lot of his issues. And he understands his position, and his position was playing more as an inverted winger. So I think he can do bits. I think again 6.5, 7 out of 10, which is not bad. It really wasn't bad for the majority of the game. So I would say for people that are having a go at him, there's bigger problems that we have at the moment. And also, there's no point. I've seen people's bios and LinkedIn with like Perez out, and I'm just like, but the thing is with Perez, I don't think he cares about you. To be perfectly honest, he cares about your opinion. He's just going to do what he does. And the thing is, when he's bad, we will criticize him. In this game, I don't think he was particularly bad. And just one, yeah. And then, coming back to Sionchu a little bit, the range of passing. So I've just looked at my notes once again. The range of passing that Sionchu has in terms of from the ball, he's spraying the balls out from the back, was incredible. Passing them on to Ricardo, onto Jamie Vardy at times, and his vision, which is something that I really, really appreciated over the time. And yeah, Sionchu, fantastic, and obviously the great assist from Bertrand. Harvey Barnes will go keep on the midfield to that left-hand side. It's just so nice to see Harvey Barnes back, isn't it? We know what he's good at. We know he got, I think, 13 goals in all competitions last year. This time, I think he was, sensational in terms of what he did and how he did it. Because, sorry, I don't know if the internet's cutting out. Even though I'm pre-recording, the internet is still an issue. Don't know if that's going to be the case. Anyway, if hopefully it's coming back now. But yes, Harvey Barnes, it was just a joy to see him back. And it was just great to see him do what he does best, which is take on a player and run past them. Remember against Liverpool, when even Trent Alexander-Arnold, I know he's an attacking fullback, but even he was a mile off him in terms of pace, and he was kind of scared to get near him. Be one to watch out for. And for a neutral to look out for as well. If any neutrals are watching, Harvey Barnes is one of them. He had a great end of the season. He had a great season, and then he got that awful injury, which obviously same thing with Fofana. But again, Fofana did so well as well. Fofana, just led from the back, just took his runs perfectly. But back to Barnes, fantastic in the build-up, always looking for the opportunity to get past a player. And then his build-up for the goal from Maddison's to Bertrand, we've mentioned. Then Harvey Barnes to take it pretty much from the halfway line, and his eyes were in one direction. Even though Jamie Vardy was, I think, offside, he was trying to peel away and create room. Harvey Barnes just went and the finish. The finish from Harvey Barnes was sensational. It was so good. And it's something that's not talked about enough. His run, his holding the ball, his dribbling is phenomenal. But his finish as well was something that we've criticized him, especially a couple of years ago. And his ability his end product was what he was missing. He seems to have gone away, bulked up, recovered from his injury, and sorted it out. And he's looked sensational. He didn't have a lot of the ball, to be honest. However, when he did, he looked sharp, he looked bright, and I just really, really enjoyed watching him. Jamie Vardy is the last person I want to mention, just because it was vintage Jamie Vardy performance. Really, really was. And there's a couple of players I want to mention in the second half, but Jamie Vardy, you know what you're going to get. You know exactly what you're getting with Jamie Vardy. A really top-notch performance from a top player that's still going to be at a certain level. We will see certain players come in position in types of Iheanacho and the likes of what's his face? Daka as well. I can't believe I forgot Daka's name. But Jamie Vardy is Jamie Vardy. We know what he's going to get. He's a rascal. He causes problems. I was on a Man City fan podcast. You'll find that probably on the Beyond the 90 channel as well on Twitter, where he was talking, where they were like, we don't like playing against Jamie Vardy. And now that you've got another one, segue into Pats and Daka, they're kind of quaking in their boots a little bit coming up to the final the Charity Shield, because it's a hell of a performance, really, by Daka. He still looks raw. He looks like, and I don't want to keep comparing him to Jamie Vardy because he's his own player in his own right. He's got more heading ability, but he's still. I think it's only right that we compare him to Jamie Vardy because some of the things he was doing was fantastic, but he did look a little bit too raw. And when Jamie Vardy first joined, he was a bit all over the place, running after people. And over time, he will take that out of his game. He still had a good performance. Not an amazing performance, but the levels changed. He, obviously, for 45 minutes, they were just attacking the goal, attacking the goal, attacking the goal. A couple of shots he put wide, but that's fine. He's only joined the squad. He's not played a Premier League game yet. He will take time to build and get into the team. But when he does and when it clicks, I think he's going to take off. And it's only going to be to our benefit. But in my opinion, is a little bit too raw, and it's not a bad thing because as a young player, you want them to be like Manwan Hise, Manwas Hise from the Zimbabwean player. Trying to get Zimbabwe and Zambia, a little bit confused. Great talent, great running, but the end product wasn't there. But his tenacity is there, and we can train that, and we know that with our squad, we'll be able to train that as well. Right, moving on to another player that, again, when we do the substitutions, I want to mention Kinnan Dewsbury Hall. Oh, I mean, doing it against a team like QPR, sure. Doing it a team against Wickham, sure. But doing it against the Europa League winners for the third goal, his play, the 1-2 with Daka, I can see them two being fantastic next season, to be perfectly honest with you. They're going to be a real threat to deal with because we're only going up from here, and KDH is only going to go up from here. After the QPR game, I think Brendan Rodgers went out of his way to pick him out and mention him in his post-match thoughts and post-match interviews, which is a sign. Brendan Rodgers never does that. He'll only mention a player when they're being mentioned, when he's spoken about. So for one of the first times I remember him going out of his way to go, this is the kind of player that I want to have in the squad. And his future looks really, really bright with our squad. When we took Ndidi, Tillemans off and we put on KDH, Samore, and then I think eventually Pratt for Maddison, them three have not played together. And the levels didn't drop until Fofana's injury, which shows you we've got a hell of a midfield. Again, Hamza Chowdhury can't even get in, and you know how much of a Hamza Chowdhury fan I am. However, unfortunately, he's the downside of the success of Leicester City. With how we've played of recent, you just can't even get into the squad. With Samore, again, I didn't see that much of him. I think his head dropped because, bearing in mind, that's one of the reasons why he joined. I think we mentioned this in the post-match thoughts in this Fofana video. He was one of the reasons why he joined. Not the only reason, but obviously Fofana has gone, look, this club is good. They train you up. They treat you well and things like that. So in this case, yeah, it's just fantastic, really. Really, really is fantastic to see Samore. Didn't do anything amazing. However, it's there's up to that point, then you had, again, I've circled it and highlighted Fofana injury, and it was just awful. But it did help with Villareal basically downing tools and dropping their energy, and they ran out of energy from what it seems like. I know they're going to Leeds to play their final match. However, they should have done better, especially since they are it's like when we won the Premier League, everybody used that against us. These are the Premier League winners we're coming up against. Let's sit back a little bit deeper, and they'll take the advantage of that, and it's always going to be used in their face to beat the Premier League champions. Because why would you not? After that, Fofana, obviously the game changed massively. Almost the game didn't matter after Fofana's awful injury. It didn't matter. But I want to mention a couple of players that obviously after that there was a lot of change. Kelechi Iheanacho missing a free header. I genuinely don't know how he missed that. This is something we're going to get from Nacho a little bit. We're going to have moments where he does things like this, but don't get on his back. Because, for example, I think a great moment in preseason, the first game we played in the Bass Trophy, whatever that one was, against Burton, he put the ball straight over. And we're just like, Jesus, what are you doing, man? But he comes in against QPR to seal it 3-3, puts the goal in fantastically. This is Kelechi Iheanacho, and this is the thing that Kelechi Iheanacho we will see, this kind of bipolarness. Just like his scoring results, where he missed against Crystal Palace and he went on a barren run. Then they changed formations, played two up front. He just took his game to another level. So this is the Kelechi Iheanacho we'll see. It's not good. It's not bad. It is what it is. However, if he can repeat if he can get the goals he got last season, it will really help us push towards the top four. Another player that really impressed me as well, Ben Nelson. 17. And he's playing like that. He was cool. He was calm. He's connected. For the obviously he was a little bit at fault for that goal, the second goal that Villareal scored, but I think the future is the future is there for this young boy, but it's going to take time. He can't just be dropped into the Premier League. We can't drop him in straight away. He's going to have a horrible time. Do you remember when we play? Remember, obviously there's difference between him and Liam Moore, but there are similarities at the same time. When Liam Moore played alongside Wes Morgan before we got Robert Huth, and Liam Moore was just not up to it in terms of he was going to get there, but but that's different when you're battling down the bottom of the table, and now we're pushing towards the top four. Is Ben Nelson going to help us get top four? No. And I think they've said already, we'll cover it in another post-match conference later on, that they're probably going to dive into the get somebody else as well. So fantastic. But again, one thing I want to criticize as well, kind of there was a mixture of things. Probably from home, the thing turned off for the 3-2 goal, but Ward should not come out running. We've seen it with, I think, Pepe Reina before the last game before lockdown, I think, before the Premier League was pretty much cancelled, where Pepe Reina came flying out of his goal and Harvey Barnes just chipped it past him, put it in the back of the net. And that's pretty much what they did here. They got a little bit of off his chest and it went over, then it landed to him, then put it away. But Danny Ward shouldn't be coming out of his goal. He's been fantastic for Wales. I think he's a fantastic number 2 keeper. However, we need to criticise the players where they do wrong. And I think that is a place. However, part of it, I think, has to be mentioned that, again, Fofana with the awful leg break affected the players. You could see it affected Sionchu. You could see it affected Samori. You could see it affected Daniel Amate. Schmeichel has just been through he's been dragged to hell and back at times, really, with the Vichai situation, with Denmark, with Christian Eriksen, now with this. Again, it's what he's gone through is not good. And just a final thing, I normally don't end on a negative. You guys know me, I'm Mr. Positive. However, when Villareal was surrounding the team at the end, like surrounding the ref at the end, it was just really undignified, really just upsetting to me. And the boos at the end, again, were booing the players, but Villareal fans will understand. And again, a lot of them have reached out and said, we're really sorry. And not the fans, I'm blaming the players and not necessarily the manager, because I know that Unai Emery, sorry for the last lack of focus as well. I've just put my hands in front of my face and maybe all blurry. But Villareal, yeah, what they did at the end, surrounding the players, really, the word I've got is undignified. It was really classless, and I think that was really stupid of them. But yeah, just to end on that, hope you've enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching and getting this far. Again, if you've got 27 minutes, really, really appreciate your time. And thank you for all the love and support you've been showing the channel of recent, because we again, without your help, this is amazing. So yeah, thank you once again for tuning in once again to Beyond the 90. We've got some fantastic stuff coming. If you've not seen yesterday, there's an interview with we'll go over this way or this way. I can't remember which way around it records, but the Premier League, the Women's Super League is back with the Premier League with James and Hannah. So make sure you go and watch that and give us support. Also check out the preview, that I did with Jan City from, again, if you guys know me, and part of Lewis G's Shameless FC. She's part of that as a Man City fan. Loved them for ages. Fantastic analysis she gave on Man City and what she thinks about the scores and Peps and things like that. So make sure you stay tuned to that. But thank you once again for paying attention. We really do appreciate it. Thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Insert generic YouTuber stuff here. And we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.